Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome back to Preseason Raw. We won! We won a game. Means Karl and Jay are allowed on podcasts again. Karl, how are you?
I'm good, Guy. I'm just so relieved about that. How about yourself?
I'm good. It felt like the longest game ever in history, but in the first 70 minutes before the kids came on and it turned into an academy game, it was quite a good showing from the Reds.
Yeah, no, it's a solid showing indeed.
Absolutely. And as I said in the jokey bit there, we've got Jay with us as well. How are you doing, Jay?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm currently resembling Jan Moby and slumped on the couch. If anyone's got LFC TV on, as we were just saying before we recorded, he looks so unimpressed about being there today. But I suppose if we can do Raw and Jan can do, pre-season friendlies, we've all got to chip in. Even AI's finest is doing it for the telly.
Absolutely. He's missing Trev. The LFC TV hosts starting up to scratch. He's missing Trev. It was an odd one. I mean, Jay, I'll start with you. We obviously come into the game. Wounded's the wrong word because we couldn't really be bothered about a pre-season game, but coming off a 4-0 loss to Man United any time's not really great, but we knew Palace were in difficult circumstances having half their team in England for some reason. But yeah, it was an odd occasion before kickoff.
Yeah, just as you say, you never want to lose to United, even in a friendly. But we all knew the process of Tuesday was literally just get lads out there and get minutes in their legs. And tonight it was a bit similar to that, but you started to see more sorts of patterns of play, especially I think in the pressing game tonight. I think it was a lot more prevalent that we were setting traps, we were high intensity pressing at times, and there's a lot more positives to take, obviously, because a 2-0 win is better than a 4-0 loss. But you can just see, as pre-season is, each game there's progression, and you can sort of see the signs of what's to come. And yeah, there's a lot more to take out of this game than we can take from the other one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not sure when Palace started their pre-season. As I said, it's a bit screwed at the minute from their perspective, but Man United, I think people are saying 10 days ahead of us in pre-season, and you can see that game on Monday or Tuesday, whenever the hell it was, did a hell of a lot for us, and obviously the sessions since, and we just looked completely transformed. But Karl, I'll come to you for the starting 11. We'll go through it as we do on all these shows. Adrian Milner at right back, Kanate, Matip, Tsimikas, Henderson as the 6, Jones, Elliott, Oxlade, Chamberlain, Diaz, and Firmino. I think Elliott and Ox kind of kept swapping, so not really one set in midfield there. But yeah, it's certainly a much more established first team 11 than the mix we saw in the last game, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly so. I mean, obviously on Tuesday rather, the aim with Klopp really was to try and give everyone minutes and try and go as far as he could, as far as getting three kind of somewhat kind of balanced, not balanced in terms of quality, but balanced in terms of positionally, the players trying to get players in the right position. And even then it was tough because, as we spoke about on Tuesday, I think in that middle team, there was right backs playing forward and then, midfielders playing at right back and crazy stuff. But yeah, it was a lot more settled today. And I think that very much showed in the way the match played out. It was a lot more controlled from Liverpool from the offset. And in many ways, it kind of resembled what you'd expect in a Premier League meeting between the two sides, except perhaps not to the same tempo. But obviously, with Liverpool having a lot of the ball and Palace trying to threaten on the counter and through set plays. But it was a lot better from the Reds, and as you say, with the team that was put out, you would have expected as much.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jay, I mean, my first note is the goal because I was recording two-footed at the same time, so I didn't go as detailed as I did on the last game, but less happened. But let's start with the goal. I mean, Henderson, it's quite literally his trademark. I think it might be his only type of goal. It's just a shot to the cut back to him, and he goes in. He's really good at that. He doesn't do many other goals, but it's his trademark. But Elliot, it was Milner who passed to Elliot, wasn't it? I think it was.
Yeah, a floated ball in. I think it was
probably
aimed towards Matip, and it's sort of like
dummy
sort of rolled past Matip in the air. Nice little cutback from Elliot, and Henderson with his usual back post cross, but this is the shot version of it, which nestled in nicely. And I think as you said and Karl said there, that the dominance and obviously the golfing class between us and Palace, given the squads and stuff like that, it was evident. And I think they had one sort of break early on in the first half, which they got a free kick for when Ayew sort of stood on Tsimikas' leg and then feigned an injury. But I don't really recall much else. I think there was one Mateta half chance when Joel missed it in the air, but Ibu swept up behind him.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't think they threatened at all. But for us going forward, there was a lot of positive signs, if not as fluid as maybe the first half hour against United the other day. And there was a lot of nice touches. I think Bobby was knitting things together as Bobby does, and if only for a bit more clinical finishing, we probably could have been 2 or 3 up at half time, really.
And counting handballs as well, which is the most clear handball I've ever seen.
We didn't get a replay for some bizarre reason, but then
it looked like a good save from the left back, to be fair.
The coverage was a bit weird, but I don't know how the referee missed that, but then he sort of missed a lot, so it sort of probably explains itself.
He was loving the occasion, that ref. He was loving it.
He's got a FIFA badge, but I suppose if he's got a FIFA badge, that says it
all. Nigel in the chat saying Palace teams all mixed up because of clearances due to COVID and COVID restrictions, and Palace, some of them haven't got the vaccine by the looks of it, so that makes sense there. But yeah, it's a lot of mixed up stuff there. I mean, feel free to say your piece on the goal as well, Karl, but I wanted to focus on Elliot. I mean, Jay said that Bobby was pulling the strings. I thought Elliot was really good as well in that half. So was Ox, to be fair, but sad news on him that we'll touch on towards the end of this half. But Elliot, for me, the whole first midfield signing, yada, yada, yada. I think we had an article on site about whether Elliot should be the one to get the chance as the right centre mid, which seems to be one locking on. Like, if we're going into the Premier League season, I want the NFT midfield to be the one, but we know their limitations with injuries and stuff like that. Out of the rest, we know what Henderson is. He'll get loads of minutes at the 6, at the 8. But if we're giving one opportunity to someone to locking that right centre mid opportunity, I want that to be Elliot, because whatever you feel about Jones, I think for me, it's pretty clear that Elliot is making more of an impact. I know it's pre-season, but he did at the start of last season as well. But I want Elliot to get that chance if we don't sign a midfielder.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very impressive showing from Elliot again. I mean, there was a few players that I would call lively in that first half, and I think you mentioned a few of them there. Ox, Milner was another, Diaz, but Elliot was arguably the pick of the bunch, and he seemed to be involved in nearly everything we done, whether that was kind of starting off a move, kind of creating a chance, or being on the end of the chance himself. And he was a little unfortunate with one opportunity ending up on his wrong foot. But he it's such an important preseason from we talked about that on Tuesday, and given what happened to him last season and how his season was pretty much a write-off after that horrific injury. And at that time, but prior to that injury, we were starting to consider him. Obviously, we'd entered last season. We were just thinking of him as a promising youngster, but we'd started maybe to consider him as a genuine first team option. But then these things are quickly forgotten when someone gets injured and they have a long road back from that injury. But it is important to remember that he is kind of an option for Klopp in that role, and he's well suited to what Klopp seems to want from that advanced eight that we've seen from the offset of last season. So it's important for Elliot, and it's also important for the team that he can kind of hit the ground running in pre-season, get himself 100% sharp, and he can be that option because, as you say, as much as we'd like to see a lot of Keita and Thiago next season, the reality is, both of them are going to need to be managed. Neither has the best history with injury, and also, Thiago's he's not a young player anymore either. So, we are going to need people to come in, particularly if we don't get anyone in, which seems to be the case at the minute based on Klopp's latest comments. And obviously now with Ox having yet another setback, you do fear the worst that it could be another season much like last season for him, where he'll very much only be playing a bit part. So we lack kind of perhaps the ideal senior options for that role. So it is going to be on those younger players like Elliot to step up and make the grade. And I'm hopeful that he can do so.
Yeah, and Jay, I'll come to you on the same topic because I'm just looking up the ages of some players here. I mean, England have obviously got a lot of talented midfielders, but the probably main two you look at are Phil Foden and Mason Mount. I mean, Phil Foden is 22-year-old. He was born in May, and Mason Mount is 23-year-old. He was born in January. And Harvey's only 19, so he's got a few years on both of them. God, this sound. It's great. It's only going to Liverpool fans. I feel like if he locks down a position, I think he could surpass both of
them. Probably, yeah, but I think he's got a long way to go.
Absolutely,
like those two players have had a lot of established football, especially probably since they were 20. So you probably are saying like this is arguably Elliot's opportunity for the breakout year, if that's such a thing. Obviously, he had the year at Blackburn.
Yeah, I was gonna. He's almost on the same. He was on the same timeline as what Mount was when he went to Derby, but the injury kind of curtailed
that. Yeah. I'd say we'll be a bit smarter than what probably more down the Phil Foden route with City, where he was in and he was out, and I'm just seeing Jordan Henderson's lifting a lovely Standard Chartered placard trophy, which we've won Singapore there. So yeah, get that on the mantelpiece, Jordan.
Someone's mom didn't bake this one.
one in the tank there. At least it's nice and golden and represents our nice 50 million in the bag a year off Standard Chartered. So
beautiful.
Yeah, back to Harvey. I think he's got Everton there. We all know it. And I think he will get opportunities this year, whether that be in the right side of midfield role. I think he sort of was showing signs up towards the front three as it has been, or the right side of a 4-2-3-1. So he's got options to play, and he will get minutes. And I think he's probably going to be in competition with Salah for sort of, or the rotation option for Salah. I think in that upper right side of the row, I don't think we've got a genuine sort of alternative. Yeah, I wouldn't say it was Ox, but I can buy into optimism of he could surpass them, and even if he becomes a player that is their level, like even though we are Liverpool fans, that's more than good enough, because I think we'd all take either of them two lads. Yeah.
Phil Foden's a bit chatty.
He's just a mank. He's just a mank, and I wouldn't like anything to do with a mank. But football ability wise, he's very much a really good player.
He is fantastic. But yeah, hopefully Harvey has a clean pre-season and we see going into the season, because we know it'll be manic, especially the second half of next season. It'll be manic as hell with all the games after the World Cup. So hopefully Harvey gets a lot of football there. My next note is literally Ibu is really fucking fast. So yeah, I think that was the one where you mentioned, Jay, that Mateta had a chance and Ibu just went, yeah,
no,
I'm all right, mate. Not today, Chief. What else have we got? We have a left-footed back post cross from Henderson. Karl, I simply put this in because it's a rarity that we'll never see again. I've never seen Henderson on the left-hand side put a cross into the back post. Felt odd.
Yeah, it's certainly a rarity. I mean, it was interesting, kind of the positions Henderson was taking up in this match. You know, I generally, genuinely prefer him obviously as the six, and I'm glad we're seeing him there in pre-season. But at times, even when he does play the six, he tends to forget he's playing the six, and you'll suddenly see him in a position, and he'll be like, "Well, I didn't think he was playing box to box today," but I think he was quite disciplined in his positioning today. You know, he only really kind of made kind of runs, like for example for the goal, when it was ideal to do so, which is good to see. Yeah, there was a lot of them kind of linking up well with Milner down the right side, kind of as he'd kind of drift towards the right side, but deep right, and make use of Milner's runs. And I made a comment in the Discord during that half that it's great to watch James Milner in pre-season because he looks great because everyone else is playing at his pace.
It's when Milner's at his fittest and everyone else is at the worst.
This is it.
He loves it. Yeah, I thought it was quite a fun first half. Well, till Ox got injured, which we'll come on in a sec. Jay, let's talk about Tsimikas for a second. And this always comes up whenever anyone talks about Tsimikas. He's too good to be a backup. He just is. He's really good. And this leads on to the Bobby. Well, should have got the clearest penalty ever, but Tsimikas, he was really good.
For me, it was between Milner and Tsimikas as who was standout first half. I know I mentioned Bobby before as knitting everything together nicely, but Milner was playing that sort of inside channel where Trent plays, and as Karl mentioned there yourself, he's at peak fitness, which just means he's level with everyone else who's just started a week ago. But Tsimikas, of course, we all know what he's got. He's arguably a better deliverer of the ball, especially on the run, I think, than Robertson. And he is too good to be a backup, but we all know it's a squad game, and he should be getting plenty of minutes. I mean, why wouldn't you? You'd never fear if he was in the team. Like, there's obviously been occasions through our past where we've had players and you'd always sort of shudder when you see the team sheet. But if ever he is named in the starting 11, it's not a problem. And that can only be a mark of how good he is ability-wise. And I know there probably will come a point where we all expect he's going to say, I'm not sitting around like getting splinters in my backside on the bench and going to go and play football. But for the time we've got him, enjoy him. And I've said this before, I don't know if I've said it on the AI channel, but in NFL where you get a designated kicker for conversions after touchdowns, if we could just bring Tsimikas on just for designated free kicks and corners, that'll do for me.
Yeah, he's definitely the best at them. Yeah, it is. I kind of want to see more of him, but Robertson's Robertson, so I don't think it'll happen. But as you said, it's a squad game.
I think it's a case of there'll be games where he's probably going to benefit us a lot more next season, because we all know, games like today where teams are going to sit back and let us just have the ball. There's probably going to be, the old horses for courses saying where you want a relentless up and down sort of fullback in Robertson, or there'll be occasions where you want a better delivery. Like if you've got now Darwin up top and arguably he should have more of an aerial presence with him, given his physique. You'd want more of a direct delivery rather than the old whip one.
Don't doubt Jota's aerial ability.
Yeah, he's got to sort these bloody hamstrings out. But
That's true.
I think that there will be occasions next season, I think, where you'd arguably say, well, if you had Trent on one side and Tsimikas on the other and more of an aerial threat down the middle, why would you not play him?
Very true. Very true. Hopefully we do see more of him. Karl, a sad moment of the first half. Ox, who we said was playing well, basically sat down. Looks like something with his hamstring. Obviously we don't know just yet, but a player who I think most people in the fan base would expect would have went this summer. There is still time, obviously. Whether he's trying to prove himself for Liverpool or proving himself to other teams to come by him, the performance was good, but the injuries is what's, well, not just his Liverpool career, it ruined his Arsenal career. It's just a shame because he is talented once he gets into the swing of things.
I mean, it's tough even talking about it. You feel, I mean, he's such a likable guy. He's such a character around the squad, and he's someone you wanted. I mean, you want every Liverpool player to do well, but he's someone you particularly wanted to do well since he came in, and it just hasn't worked for him. I mean, he was such an asset early on, and he looked like he could be a key man in the way we played at the time. When it was a bit more of the heavy metal football that Klopp was known for, kind of in his early years with the club, and then just the injuries came, and Liverpool evolved, and it feels almost like we kind of passed Ox by in that time. I mean, I think last season we saw when he played, when he was used in a forward role, like he had some decent performances, but I think kind of when he was played in midfield, he almost looked out of place. But again, we can't judge him too harshly on last season because I think similar to what's just happened now. I can't remember if it was in preseason or just after preseason, but if I remember rightly, he got injured, and then obviously again, his season was slow to get started, and you just fear it's going to be much the same from this season, as I said earlier, and whether we still don't know for sure whether he could potentially or now it might be more apt to say may have been moving on, or whether he's going to stay with the club. But either way, it's not ideal to pick up an injury now because it completely puts you on the back foot.
Yeah, it kind of screws up your entire season, as you kind of alluding to there. I think it's a tough one because I think he'd be tough to sell with the injury issues, and nobody will want to take the long-term gamble on him. I know he's only got a year left on his deal, but it might be one where we load him out for the last year of his deal, just to try and help his career get back on track. Because regardless, he probably won't get consistent football at Liverpool. We get a small loan fee and get his wages off for a year. It might be the best option, but it'd be kind of a crap end to what started off in his first season as a really good option, as you say. It's a sad one. Jay, do you want to add anything on that?
No, I just think it's a bit like the Lallana case. Really, we've surpassed him as a player, and as we've seen with other players, like we've sort of held on to him a bit too long. He should have probably went last year, really, when he got back to a relative level of fitness. But I think it's just one of these sad cases where, who is going to take him? Someone's going to take a gamble, and given he's probably on a handsome wage, there's not a huge amount of clubs that will do that. I see your point for a loan. I think it could even be a case in January where somebody comes in for him and we just sort of agree a mutual termination and let him go without a fee, and maybe just give him a little backhander in wages and say thank you very much for your service, and go and try and restart your career for the fourth or fifth time again. But he's been a good servant in what he did. But yeah, the last 2 or 3 years since that Roman injury, he's never really been the lad that we signed originally, and hopefully
he never
gets
really
something.
caught back up, did he? That's the issue.
No. Hopefully he gets another, goal, because he's only, 27, 28.
Something like that, yeah.
He's been around a long time, though, hasn't he? So he's probably arguably past his best and maybe only got a couple of years at the highest level in the tank, but he's done all right, and yeah, wish him well.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a good team for him. I can't really think off the top of my head because I would have said Southampton, but they signed like 4 midfielders, I think, this summer. So maybe not them now. But Bournemouth exist for this, I think. So yeah. Yeah, that's probably the one. Clarkson came on for Ox and then he went back off in 2 mins and came back on for the last 20 odd mins. But the second half team, Jay, I'll stick with you. Harvey Davies in goal. Trent Sepp is alive and playing. Van Dijk, Robertson, Fabinho, Thiago, Keita, Carvalho on the left, Salah on the right, and Nunes in the middle. That's not too far away from our first team, you'd probably say. Debate in midfield, whether it's Henderson or Naby. Alisson, obviously, who's missing at the min. And Van der Berg out for Matip or Ibu. And Diaz, obviously. So that's probably the strongest team we've seen so far, especially fitness-wise as well. We always like to look for patterns in pre-season. The NFT midfield playing together all the time in pre-season, do you think that's a little look-see for the first game of the season, or do you think that we're just keeping Henderson with the less experienced lads because he's captain? Or am I digging a bit too, hopefully, for the NFT midfield there?
I think you're 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, to be honest. I think it's a very fair point to be making. But then, are we sort of saying, Ibu and Verge were the starting centre-back pairing, but then Ibu started the first half with Matip, and that was obviously due to maybe Gomez's injury, and that's why we've seen Sepp.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's all maybe pointing towards that direction, but then, there was a lot of talk of, are we going to a 4-2-3-1, in which case does that include Keita as a more advanced player, or does it include, a more natural 3 behind the 1 sort of, you'd probably say Salah, Diaz, arguably maybe Carvalho, and then Nunes or Firmino. Like you just don't know, but it's good to see Klopp's favourite word, rhythm, with these lads, and there was a lot of positives to take from this second half. I mean, we can all dig into 1 or 2 players, but as you say, the half hour, again, I'll point out that the pressing and the intensity, I think, was good to see. And from the very first minute, you could tell, like, if these lads were only out there for half an hour, they were putting everything on the line for that game.
Yeah, Naby was a monster. He was pressing, especially. You seem to be all over the place. Yeah, Carl, we get the new team, but then we get a second goal, basically 2 seconds after everyone's on it. It's a deflected shot. I thought it was a goalkeeper error before, but I think it was Anderson. It came off. So a bit harsh on the goalkeeper there. But yeah, Moore driving in from the right. Shot comes off Anderson, just goes beyond the goalkeeper, unfortunately for him. But yeah, goal straight away.
Yeah, I mean, we talked on Tuesday about how Mo was kind of the one player at a kind of the senior team that was put out that looked sharp and looked completely on it. And I think he kind of started off this game the way he left off the last. And, he looks really hungry, and it's great to see because obviously, in no way did he play badly in the latter half of last season, but he definitely looked jaded at times, and maybe a little holiday away with his family and a bit of a break, and also kind of the mental effect of finally having his future settled. It all seems to have had a very positive effect, and I'm sure we'll see kind of the Mo that we expect to see kind of from the off this season, which is great. But as for the goal, it's simply done. Nice little 1-2 from Mo, and of course when he gets in that kind of position, he's always going to have a shot. Gets a little bit of fortune with the deflection off Anderson, and I think the goalkeeper, he may have been left somewhat flat-footed by the deflection, but at the same time he probably should have done better if we're being
Like
harsh.
Pringle wrists there.
But yeah, maybe we'll let him off because it's pre-season.
Yeah, he was just enjoying his time. It was basically. To be fair, he made a quite a good few saves. I think there was one from Carvalho about 10 minutes later, which we'll come on to. That was quite good. Carl, I'll stick with you. Sepp Vandenberg. last pod we basically laughed at the defending a bit with Nat and Reece. We obviously have a spot for the fifth centre back, which Reece and Nat filled in at times. I know they have. Well, I think Nat has homegrown status. I'm not sure how old Reece is. He might not count yet. But Sepp, if the homegrown issue isn't there, probably makes more sense because he's a centre back, but you can obviously play right back and has played right wing back for Preston as well. I mean, if we want a player to give opportunities to in the League Cup, and if we do the same in the Champions League and to skin Zlatan Ibrahimovic in the San Siro, maybe Sepp could be that guy, because I think it probably makes more sense from a versatility point of view and probably a quality point of view. Let's be fair.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we saw bits of Sepp in the past, in cup games and that. I think he played in that crazy game against Arsenal years ago. And he always looked a footballing talent to me. Like he looked at, he's good at comfortable on the ball, and he seemed to have a good read of the game for a young lad. But my one concern at the time was, his acceleration wasn't the best, and considering our high line, that is a risk. But I mean, people who obviously have been watching him in the championship had kind of been suggesting to me on Discord of late that, that a change that which can happen with young players, they kind of grow into their bodies more, and they can kind of get with work, their legs kind of change in terms of the mass of their muscle and that kind of thing, and their acceleration and their speed can improve. And it does seem to be the case with Sepp. Based, I know it's only a small sample size, but he definitely seemed a little quicker off the mark today, and he didn't look out of place at all. And with the Gomez picking up the knock before the game, and there were suggestions of Phillips playing, and I was a bit disappointed at that. I'm not knocking. I know some fans can be a bit overly harsh on Phillips, but it's hard to deny that he's not suited to how we play. I'm not saying he's a bad defender or anything like that, but he's just not suited. So I'd rather just not waste his time or ours. I'm hoping he gets his move.
He's
he gets
25.
exactly. He needs to go and find his team and get on with his career. And the same obviously goes for the forgotten man, Ben Davies. They need to be
Yeah.
allowed to just move on. And as you say, if Klopp wants that security blanket of a fifth centre half around this season, it's difficult to see past Step as the being the best option so far. But then there is obviously the point that, if we genuinely think he has a long term future, is he not better served to go out and play a full, 38 game season elsewhere? And I suppose that's an answer for Klopp to figure out over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it could be. Maybe you could loan him for the first half of the season or something like that when the games are less matched. But then when we could recall him in January, and then we have a game every 3 days or something. And if we're still in the League Cup and FA Cup, you could get games in two positions there. But it might depend on the development of Ramsey or something as well. Because if he's ready to take first team minutes off Trent, then we can protect Gomez a bit more, not play him right back, etc. So, yeah, time will tell. But I think Sepp, he's only 20. That's still very young for a centre-back. 2 seasons in the Championship, done well by all accounts, and Preston fans seem to love him. Depending who we can loan him to, that might be an option as well. If there's a Premier League team that wants him, it might be an option. But would a Championship loan help him any more than it already has? Or would training with Van Dijk and etc. help more? It's a debate to be had, I should say. Darwin Núñez, Jay. Yeah, the memes aren't going to stop, even though it's not an open goal this time. But it's good. It's shit like this that's going to catch fire with other fan bases. Obviously, not Liverpool ones. His movement's good, but I don't know, it's just not falling for him. It's over analysing pre-season and all that jazz, but it'd be nice for him to get a goal just so, Man United fans stop making stupid compilations of pre-season.
Yeah, I mean, with it, if it fills the time and energy of some mindless little children who want to play compilation videos online, then so be it. Like, we all know, like, we don't sign dud players under this regime. Like, there has not really been an epic failure of a signing, and I don't think we're about to make one now. There's been a huge body of evidence in this Benfica time that proves that he's not a flop. And, he's been in training, a week or something like that since he sort of joined up with the team. Not even a week. I think they joined up on Saturday, the international lads. So, give him time, and he's making the right movements. He's, sometimes obviously the runs are maybe to the right of a defender and the ball's gone to the left, but
there was a couple by Trent alone where he's like, I think Trent had a shot, didn't he? And then there was one where he passed to the wrong side, as you say.
Yeah, it's all early days, and what I will say is, like, he's not afraid of having a go, and okay, he missed that attempt, a swing and a miss sort of thing, but he then had another 2 shots on target, 4 saves from the keeper. So he's not shy in coming forward and carrying on, and I think that was what was spoken about the lad from the numerous pods on AI, from people who know him better than what any of us do who've watched him for a long period of time, that he is a relentless player. He will just keep going, a bit like Luis Diaz. He doesn't see an error as something that'll get him down. All he sees is the next opportunity to go and correct that moment and take his chance. And I think the goal will come, but we're not bothered if he didn't score in pre-season, because, again, as we repeat, it means nothing. It just is about getting your sharpness and getting your fitness in line. So if he didn't score between now and the opening game against Fulham, and then he goes and bags 2 on the day, then is anyone really going to have a complaint about that? No, because if you have, then football probably isn't for you.
You're a bit of a nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have any concerns. He's not obviously set the world alight yet. I can't remember. I don't remember pre-season. I'm not a weirdo. I can't remember anyone in pre-season. What I do remember, when I was a kid, 2007, is when we signed Torres, and I think Voronin had a better pre-season. And I'm sure I remember commentators say, why did they sign Torres when Voronin was so free? And I was like,
oh, wow. You brought up some terrible memories there.
I remember that stuck in my head for some reason. Like, yeah, pre-season's a lie. So, Voronin.
The dark old days. The very dark old days.
What a legend. God, they were the times. I've lost track of where we were now. Palace have a good chance. Robertson blocked. I can't remember. I think it was AU. It probably wasn't going in anyway because it's Jordan AU. Our other signing then, Karl, I'll come to you. Fabio Carvalho, playing left wing this time. Obviously seeing his versatility early on. He played midfield when the youngsters came on as well. Not hugely involved. He had that shot, which we'll talk about now in a sec. But yeah, he's showing his versatility early on. Good movement. You can see the pressing and willingness to press is there. Looks promising. I'm not sure if he'll be first team ready, but he looks like a Liverpool player to me.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, he seems to be settling in quite quickly. I mean, we've seen him on the left side of midfield on Tuesday, and he was one of kind of the standouts from that team. And now we've seen him on the left side of attack, and again, he looks to be linking in well with the players around him. He's getting into really dangerous positions and getting shots away, and obviously it won't be long before they're nestling into the back of the net rather than finding the post or just wide or whatever the case might be. I mean, you were talking about Nunes before, and I think for him, he's a player we haven't been used to accommodating in quite some time. I mean, in the Klopp era at Liverpool, we've generally played with kind of a false 9. We haven't had that out and out number 9. I feel Liverpool probably haven't really had that since Torres left in a way. So I think with Nunes, it's going to take time for the team to learn to play with him. So I think really in the early stages of the season, I think Carvalho might be the one that we, as far as our 3 signings this season, that we see have the biggest impact, which is crazy to think when you think of his age. He's a young player coming up from the championship, but I just think early signs, just the kind of player he is, he seems more plug and play than Nunes, because I just feel that, and it's natural, and it's not a knock on Nunes or a knock on the team or anything. It's just completely, it's a change of style to get the best out of a number 9 like Nunes, in my opinion, and I just think that's going to take some time. And I think fans who are expecting him to just come straight in and be knocking in a brace here and a hat trick there and whatever the case might be, it's just not realistic. It is going to take him time, and we need to be patient. And United and City and Arsenal, for whatever weird reason, whoever the case might be, they can make whatever little videos they want on YouTube and Twitter. It shouldn't matter. We shouldn't be panicking as Liverpool fans, and we should give him all the time he needs for both him. It's not just him; it's the team, him, Klopp, everyone, to just get the jigsaw pieces together, and then I'm sure the goals will come.
All right. If anyone's seen the United game today, Melbourne's goal. That's what I'm trying to say. We saw Maguire and Lindelof in a high line. That's not going to work. So you can make all the comps you want, but you've still got Maguire in a high line next season, and it's going to be hilariously shit. So who wins? Moving on then, Carvalho had that nice shot, as I keep saying. Good save by Gaeta. Good run by Carvalho. Left wing or left side of the pitch seems to suit him. Off the 2 games I've seen, because I never watched Fulham last season. This is where we get loads more subs, and there's not really much else to talk about after this. I've fallen at the first hurdle. I'm going to go with Rozek. Mabaya, Phillips, Williams, Chambers, Basetic, Morton, Norris, Carvalho, Salah and Clark. Obviously, it's only Carvalho and Salah that stayed on, I think, isn't it? Yes. Jay, anything from this last team? There wasn't loads to go off.
Keeper made a good collection. That's about it. Yeah. I will say, I don't know if you've touched on him already, but is it Harvey Davis, the young lad who started
second half, yeah.
Very impressive with his feet. Very composed, much like Queeve in terms of, the way he's comfortable with the ball, and he's a big lad, and he's probably got a decent career ahead of him, whether it's with us or somewhere else. But I think he was in the England under-19 squad that won the Euros. I don't think he was the starting keeper, but he was called up. So he's obviously rated by the English system. For what that's worth, I don't know. But, he looks like he's got a level of ability about him. And, we've seen Pitaluga's gone out on loan. And
he apparently got man of the match the other day as well.
He did. He made a great save. And this Mrozek, is it, as you said?
We'll go with that.
he commanded that ball that he came out for, and he had a couple of touches with his feet. And I think obviously it's just a feature of how our keepers are, but there was not a lot else to sort of write home about. I think it was a case of, can we get to the 90 and not be injured by any of these psychopaths who Palace sent on, who just seemed intense.
The Irish in the middle of the first half was trying to injure him.
He's like a young James McLean. It was just ruthless. But yeah, I think, as we say, it's an exercise in fitness, and the lads who done half an hour done an intense half hour, and I think we were just all sort of waiting for the end of the game. As long as you felt that game was going on, them last 15 probably felt like 45 themselves. But yeah, we are where we are. 2-0, nice shiny trophy in the cabinet for Jordan to lift with a little shuffle if he got one in there. So that's about it, really.
Yeah, there wasn't really too much to add on to what you say there, but yeah, nice to see Edward's legacy of all the Polish goalkeepers finally saying one. I think Grabara got the odd pre-season, but this is the first since then, I think. So yeah, there's not really much else from me. Any last thoughts from you, Karl?
No, I mean, it was kind of as expected. We saw a bit more settled in terms of the team, obviously with the first team getting a full 45 minutes, and I'm sure the next game next week against Salzburg is first up, isn't it?
Leipzig's first.
Leipzig first, rather. Yeah, that we'll probably see two teams get 45 minutes a piece, and maybe the youngsters won't have any involvement at that point. And we'll just expect things to go from step to step through pre-season as Klopp always has it. I mean, hopefully back in Europe, it won't be as warm, and we'll be able to
I
see
don't
kind of
know.
high.
I don't know about
Well, to be fair,
the
actually,
forecast next week.
that's true. Actually, we are being warned about heat waves and the like, but hopefully it's not too bad, and then the games start to pick up more tempo as things go on, and hopefully we don't get any more injuries, because I think Jota obviously doing his hamstring again. Now obviously Allison has a knock that'll could see him out for another few days, and now today Ox, it's not ideal. We can't be coping with. No, fortunately I think Gomez is apparently okay. It was just a bit rotten, but we can't really afford any more knockbacks in pre-season,
Any more, and we'll buy a midfielder.
potentially, but that would be the wrong reason for buying a midfielder. But yeah, no, fingers crossed that we just continue to build up fitness, and we get no more knocks, and we're ready to go for the first day of the league.
Yeah, absolutely. But that is it for the game. Next up, Liverpool have RB Leipzig on Thursday the 21st. That is at 6:15 UK time, and then we have Salzburg on the 27th at 7 o'clock. So a bit later there. I will sort out whoever the hell the guests are at a later date. But as I said at the start of the pod, Karl and Jay have saved their AI status by not losing 4-0 today to Crystal Palace's mixed reserve side. But that's it for me. I'll be back for that Leipzig game. Thank you everyone for listening. Goodbye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index, and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.